Our market monitor is a long-term bull on stocks, but he expects a 5% pullback between now and the end of the year. He's Chris Orndorff, Senior Portfolio Manager at Western Asset Management. Chris, welcome back to Nightly Business Report. Let me talk a little bit first about your market outlook before we get to specific stocks. We're hearing from a number of money managers that there's going to be a correction, a pullback of different sizes over the next couple of months. Is this time for investors to load up a little bit more on cash and pull back from stocks?
I think so, and the primary reason is valuation. The P/E ratio for the S&P 500 is above 15, which is among the highest among global stock markets in the world. And clearly, typically when you see these kinds of P expansion, Ps were lower a few years ago, it's typically an environment of falling bond yields. But what we've been seeing is indeed rising bond yields over the last year, and the increasing attractiveness of bonds is putting some pressure on stocks.
That is for sure right now. Chris, we have some viewer questions for you on individual securities. Linda H. would like to get your thoughts on British Petroleum. What do you think of BP right now?
BP pays a nice 5.3% dividend yield, but earnings growth and cash flow have been a little bit below expectations, and we've got the second phase of the Macondo oil well trial beginning at the end of September. So I think if you can deal with the share price volatility, income's attractive. I like the stock.
Tell us about iRobot. Jen L. is interested in it. What do you think? Buy, sell, or hold?
Well, this company makes small robots that mop and vacuum, among other things. It's a nice product. I really like it. Earnings are growing nicely. They've got a large patent portfolio, which should be valuable years down the road. But the valuation is really expensive, and I would look for a better entry point, I think, on this stock.
Okay. We heard from Edward L. in Los Altos, California. He owns several real estate investment trusts, probably for income. Wants to know if he should hang on to them or run for the hills, as he put it.
Well, I think REITs, it's a very broad category, but I think REITs are a great part of a portfolio for income-oriented investors. My favorites are office REITs, which hold Class A office space in major U.S. cities, as well as mortgage REITs, which have private residential mortgages. They pay very high dividend yields, particularly the mortgage REITs, but the share prices are volatile. So investors need to have a long-term time horizon and be well diversified.
Let's turn to one of your own recommendations. Tell us about Western Asset High Yield Defined Opportunity Fund. That's a mouthful. Why are you recommending this one?
This is a closed-end fund that pays a 9% dividend yield, and it trades at a discount to its net asset value. And with the increase in bond yields, bonds have been sort of thrown by the wayside by a lot of investors. And this fund now has a low share price and is a particularly attractive entry point, I think, for patient, income-oriented investors.
Do you look overseas at all? You can get a pretty good dividend yield elsewhere. Some of the bonds overseas are paying a pretty good income as well. Do you look there, or do you just stay in the United States?
Oh, no, Western Asset's very much a global firm, and there are some outstanding opportunities overseas, particularly in emerging market corporate bonds that trade in U.S. dollars, so there's no currency exposure, but very high credit quality and very attractive yields.
All right, so, just to wrap it up here, for investors this is a really inflection point in the markets in terms of what they should be doing with their portfolios. Any changes, fundamental changes that they should be making right now?
I think they should stick with the income focus. If they need to load up on income, this is probably a pretty good time to do so. And again, as long as they have a longer-term time horizon and they keep a well-diversified portfolio, they're going to be fine. The market's always going to have ebbs and flows. We've seen it in the past. We're going to see it probably in the next 6 months with a lot of events going on in the government and the Fed changeover and everything, all the things you've described on the program. But income is a very important part to everyone's portfolio.
All right, lots of good advice. Thank you so much, Chris. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Susie. You too.
Chris Orndorff, Senior Portfolio Manager at Western Asset Management.